Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hey everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to The Cult. The Cult is a show that I stream on this here YouTube channel and on Twitter and in theory on Rumble, though we're going to address that Rumble thing because I'm not really streaming on my Rumble channel. I'm streaming on some secondary hidden channel that Rumble set up for me and that all my streams go to. We're going to address that in a second. But I do stream this show Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. On Saturdays, we go live at 6 p.m. for Socialism Saturday. And The Cult is where we take a look into all of the cults that have formed around us. You know, I originally conceived this as a show about the culture war, and it is about the culture war. But inherent to the culture war are all sorts of different cults, and I do mean literal cults that exist in our society, whether you're on the right, the left, or the libertarians, as we're going to see today. The world is filled with cults, people who are purely tribalist, people who are playing for a team rather than adhering to the truth. And it's all these warring factions that have us in the mess that we are all in. And today we are taking, a little bit of an interesting path. We are looking at the libertarians. Now, I have not covered libertarian content on this show in a while just because I am a libertarian. I am technically a member of the Libertarian National Party. I'm technically a member of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, although I really disavow every single thing that has happened in the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire since they wrongfully removed the chair for taking away their Twitter account a couple months ago. I think that the Libertarian Party is a shit show. Just let me say that. Let me say that. But an interesting thing happened in the libertarian world last Friday, which is the Free State Project removed Jeremy Kaufman from his board seat on the Free State Project. They posted this tweet after following a board vote. Jeremy Kaufman has departed from the Free State Project board. We are grateful for his many contributions to the FSP, including extending our social media reach. We wish him well. Blah, 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 blah. Well, Jeremy didn't really like this too much. Jeremy is a very, very, very well-known libertarian. And I personally think Jeremy has gone downhill since last year. We'll talk more about that in a second. Jeremy responded by retweeting the board and saying, "Friends and Liberty allies, I need your help. I hate asking for help, but I do. This is a movement to drive myself, LPNH supporters, and anyone not politically correct away from being affiliated with the Free State movement. This effort is being led by Carla Garrick and Jason Sorens. Jason Sorens is the founder of the Free State Project. Carla Garrick is one of the most prominent libertarians in the state of New Hampshire. Evidently, they've been promised big donor money to do it. You can help by doing two things: write an email to the board and taking a picture of that email and posting it on Twitter. And then basically Jeremy took those emails and we cover whatever I want. I don't always cover socialism. You can come back for the socialism streams if that was what you, I've got a big archive of socialism streams. Is that what you want? You can go and do that. But we're doing something different today. So essentially what Jeremy did is Jeremy is a cult of personality. Like talk about cults. Jeremy is a cult of personality. Jeremy has spun up all of these little minions who just worship everything Jeremy does and follow everything Jeremy does and do it like pretty unquestioningly about why they're doing it, essentially. And so what he did is he had all of his minions email the Free State Project saying, "You suck for getting rid of Jeremy," in like a nicer way than that. And then he would post those emails on Twitter, basically because Jeremy started an online struggle session after the Free State Project removed him from the board. So one of the things that Jeremy said in this is that there was the whole meeting in which he was removed from the board was recorded, and he was calling on the release of that video. Well, apparently they were going to release the video anyway. So Jeremy's making this big political statement of like, "I demand transparency," when they were going to release the video anyway. They just wanted to like edit out donor names, which I think is actually, I don't know, kind of responsible. But they did actually release the video today, and this is what we're going to end up watching today. We are going to watch the video of the meeting, which both sides have declared a struggle session in which Jeremy was removed from the board of the Free State Project. So it's kind of like getting some woke stuff in there too, because Jeremy's whole position is apparently Jeremy is the only libertarian in New Hampshire, and Jason Sorens and Carla Garrick are just progressive Democrats, and they want to remove Jeremy from the Free State Project board because Jeremy is the only libertarian, and the Free State Project now wants to be Democrats or something like that. I'm going to give my opinion on this in a second, but I want to show you guys Justin O'Donnell's take. Now, I really respect Justin. Justin, to be quite frank, Justin is probably within my top 3 people in New Hampshire associated with libertarians that has my unequivocal respect and support, because Justin doesn't actually get involved in tribalist bullshit. Justin shows up. He knows everything about everything. He does the work. Justin does things that most people just won't do. Like he was basically responsible for the LPNH getting ballot access last year. He has run multiple campaigns. He does a lot of this stuff by himself. He doesn't have nearly the support that he should have, but Justin has my unequivocal respect and admiration. Here is Justin's take on what happened. "I don't know what's worse right now, the childish temper tantrum out of the legions of so-called experts and intellectuals who are fishing at the mouth to form a lynch mob based solely on the childish temper tantrum being thrown by Jeremy. Here's my take. I like Jeremy as a friend. I've been a volunteer and member of the FSB comp team under his direction. It has not been a pleasant experience. He is constantly bickering with other board members and trying to drag volunteers into it. I suggested to Jeremy a couple weeks ago he should leave the board because he's become too divisive to be effective. But he adamantly insisted that he and he alone was up to the task and nobody else was good enough. I implied he was sounding like Nicholas Sarwark and was unable to see his own divisiveness was crippling his effectiveness. That conversation started after he tried to get me to email the board to threaten to quit if another board member wasn't removed so he could get his way. I opted to sit out and say nothing instead after he chose not to heed my advice. The most disingenuous thing about this drama is him pretending like it came out of nowhere. He wasn't expecting it. People have been complaining to the board about how he's treated them as volunteers for months, and Justin posted this while also showing that he muted Jeremy Kaufman's name on Twitter because he doesn't want to be involved in this stuff anymore. So there are two sides to this. I certainly have my opinions on what happened, which I will, I will, I will lay out my perspective on this, and then we're gonna watch the video, and I'm gonna call balls and strikes on this one, mostly because, spoiler alert, I dislike both sides. I think both sides are trash. I'm not on anyone's team, but I feel like I can objectively analyze this to say who's right and who's wrong in this situation. And so we're gonna see. We're gonna watch this little struggle session play out. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm glad they released the video. I'm glad we have this opportunity today. But before we get into that, just a few quick things. Number one, please do make sure you are subscribed to my Substack, which is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. This is my primary content hub on the internet. And when you subscribe to my Substack, you get unmatched unwoke news and content exclusives that you will only find on my Substack because I'm the only one doing this stuff. I break down the woke ideology. I'm now giving you video clips explaining how to speak socialist, stuff like that. I have all sorts of content on there. You can go and check it out for yourself. I also want to remind people that I do have this free webinar coming up on Wednesday. You can sign up for it totally for free. I just dropped the chat in YouTube, or the link in YouTube rather, just drop the link in Rumble. And you can sign up for the free webinar on Tuesday, in which I will teach you how to speak socialist. This is where all my best content comes out of. I do hope you guys will subscribe today. And if you do want to support the work I'm doing, you can sign up for $8 a month or $80 a year. That gets you access to a variety of perks, to include 2 Zoom calls with me and my supporter community every single week. We do them on Mondays at 7 p.m., so just an hour and 45 minutes from now. We also do them on Wednesdays at noon. You get access to all of that by going to the Unwoke Roundup email, and you scroll all the way down to the bottom. There's a weekly email that I do. And when you get to the bottom, you're going to hit a section called Supporter Perks. And underneath this red box right here, if you are a paying subscriber on the Substack, you will find links to the Zoom calls that we do on Mondays and Wednesdays. You will also find a link to the supporter Discord, where we have movie night, we have writers group on Thursday night, lots of good stuff that you can take part in to create your own unwoke content, connect with just like good normal people. And so $8 a month, $80 a year will get you access to all that on my main Substack, Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. But I also have many other Substacks, and I want to make sure people know about this one. One of the Substacks I have is thecult.substack.com, and I did pin this to the top of the chat on YouTube, but let me just pop it in the chat. The reason I have this cult Substack is that I have issues with people who are subscribed to my channels not getting notified by YouTube when I go live. Now, this, of course, has been an ongoing issue because YouTube's going to YouTube, but my way of working around that is I have this cult Substack where I literally, not like every single show, but like before the vast majority of them, I send out an email that looks a little bit like this, that says, here is the topic of today's show, and here are our links to watch the show, and here's what we're going to be watching. So if you want to know what I'm talking about before the start of the stream at 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday, or on Socialism Saturday, you will actually get an email before the stream saying, here's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And then you can decide for yourself, is this something I want to see? Is this something I don't want to see? And you will have all your handy dandy links. Now, the reason that this is important in regards to Rumble specifically is that for some reason, Rumble has like created a second channel for me, and my live streams, even though there's only one place on Rumble for me to set up my live stream settings, my live streams on Rumble are no longer showing on my main channel. They're showing on this random second channel that Rumble has set up for me. And Rumble doesn't seem to understand what happened. I have no idea why I currently have 2 channels on Rumble, because I sure as shit didn't set that up. So I'm trying right now to get Rumble to fix the problem. However, in a DM conversation I had with Rumble earlier today, Rumble basically told me, in order to stream to your main channel, you have to upload the video to your main channel. And I was like, hang on. Two things. If I'm uploading a video, that's not a live stream, Rumble. Like, I want to live stream to my main channel. Like, why are you telling me I need to upload a video to live stream to my main channel? I don't understand that. I only have one place where I can set up live streams. So why are you diverting my live streams to some secondary channel that I didn't even set up? So I'm still trying to troubleshoot that with Rumble to figure out WTF. I mean, Rumble sucks. Rumble has always sucked from a streamer perspective. Like, they sink all of their money into like getting their big name talent on the front page and all this stuff. And I'm sure their big name talent never has any of these problems at all. But let me tell you, from like an average person perspective, Rumble is by far the worst streaming platform. And they always have been. Always have been. And I kind of started to get on board because I was getting a little bit of an audience on Rumble. Like, I was starting to actually get an audience that was comparable on Rumble to like the streaming audience I have on YouTube. And I was like, okay, cool. And now Rumble is randomly setting my stream to go to some random secondary channel that I didn't even set up, and apparently are not capable of troubleshooting this. So we're working it out. But if you do want to be able to access my live streams on Rumble, you'll get a direct link. This is where the live stream is. I don't know if it's going to be on some random secondary channel or my normal channel. I'm sorry. I wish I could fix this problem, but this is just another in a series of years of Rumble sucking dick as the worst possible streaming platform in the world. Okay, I needed to get that out of my system. Let's dig into the content of our show today, which is going to be watching the struggle session between Jeremy and the Free State Project. And just getting the sound set up. Please go ahead and mount the like button for me if you would be so kind. And I want to just start by giving you guys, well, it's loading, apparently. There it is. I want to start by giving you guys my perception of the situation. This really pains me to say, to be honest with you. My opinion of both Jeremy Kaufman and of the Free State Project has tanked in the last year. There was a time when I had great admiration for both sides. I've learned a lot from Jeremy Kaufman. That's the God's honest truth. I have learned a lot from Jeremy Kaufman. I think that Jeremy Kaufman is an extremely smart individual. I think that there's no denying Jeremy's libertarian credentials. I think I like his bold messaging. Not all the time. I don't agree. I do not like the race stuff. I really, really strongly dislike Jeremy's bent to focus almost exclusively on race. I think it's gross, and I think it's really unnecessary. And quite frankly, I think it's a little racist, and I'm kind of confused by that. But I think that in general, I think that Jeremy Kaufman is an extremely smart person that has had a lot of people unfairly characterize him. But, and there is a but, since the SEC decision against Library, Jeremy has, well, in my opinion, taken a turn for the worse. And I don't know if it's that he feels like he got his whole identity taken away from him with the Library stuff, which what happened to Library was unconscionable. Library was targeted by the federal government. Library is Jeremy's company, Library and Odyssey. Targeted by the federal government, like had the SEC come down on them. This process took years. It cost them millions of dollars, and they lost. They did. And I can understand like feeling like, I mean, I can't imagine the pressure that he was under, to be honest. Like, I think that is, I think that is it was ridiculous. So I can understand like some of this. However, in the last year and a half, the bullshit around the LPNH Twitter has become so toxic in New Hampshire that it has made libertarian activism in New Hampshire almost goddamn impossible. And I'm talking about activism and outreach to like people who aren't already libertarians. There's kind of like an insulated free stater community in New Hampshire. And if you're speaking to free staters, no problem. But the minute that you try to influence outside of that, it is goddamn near impossible. The LPNH Twitter, the LPNH as a party is only a Twitter account now. And I think that Jeremy is one of the people that's responsible for that. The party does absolutely nothing, literally nothing other than Twitter. There are other people involved in that too. So I'm not saying that all comes down on Jeremy, but like the toxicity around all of that makes it almost impossible to function on like a practical level. And I don't think people who are like just on Twitter and just watching the LPNH Twitter can really understand this. The LPNH Twitter has cost like job opportunities, has cost money for a lot of people, has damaged a lot of people's personal reputations. Like it is really bad. It's so divisive that the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, there's no point in being involved in it. It does nothing. It literally can accomplish nothing as a political party. They ain't going to run any candidates. They're not going to promote any issues. They aren't having any meetups. All they're doing is effing around on Twitter all day, every day. And I directly blame Jeremy Kaufman for at least a portion of that because he's been one of the people that's been involved in this whole thing. So I think that a lot of what we're going to see with the Free State Project is a direct kind of like kick in the ass that came as a result of Jeremy dicking around with the LPNH Twitter. So on that, I understand it. Now let's talk about the Free State Project. I worked with Dennis Pratt, who was the organizer of PorcFest the past couple of years, to do proactive outreach to people in my community to get them to consider New Hampshire, visit New Hampshire, come to PorcFest, considering moving to New Hampshire. I had a whole bunch of people from my community at PorcFest, which is a Free State Project event, last year. There were people there, and Kino is in the chat right now. Nick is in the chat right now. There were people that were like literally house hunting in New Hampshire from my community. Like they wanted to experience what it was like and all this stuff. And it was fine up until a new organizer took over PorcFest this past year. Her name is Constance Spencer, and she is one of the weakest people I have ever met in my life. Weak, shrill, just ridiculous. Like, to think that Constance is going to be the great defender of liberty, I would never recommend her as a realtor to anyone. Like, one of the just most like ridiculous people I've ever encountered in my life. But like, she took on the job of organizing PorcFest. Okay, like whatever. She made some changes to PorcFest that pandered to the worst possible people in New Hampshire. And because I don't follow every single thing that Constance Spencer posted on the internet, I had some questions about this. Well, when I asked Constance questions about this, again, after using my resources and my community to do outreach to them for literally years, cultivating a community for years of potential new movers to New Hampshire, which is what the Free State Project is supposed to care about, Constance refused to answer my questions. And so I was like, well, she said, well, I posted this elsewhere. Well, where, Constance? Because I don't follow every single post you make on the fucking internet. So then I was talking about this with members of my community that were literally at PorcFest last year. And wouldn't you know it, they had some of the same questions that I had about changes that were being made to PorcFest. And so they emailed Constance and asked her the questions. Constance not only refused to answer them, but she went into Telegram groups, libertarian Telegram groups in New Hampshire, and called the people who were emailing her questions potential new movers, a waste of her time, and refused to answer any of those questions. These are people that I had been cultivating out of my community as potential new movers for effing years. For years. And this next year at PorcFest, and I don't know if I'm going to go yet. I'm still deciding. There are positives and negatives. The negative is I don't like the Free State Project or the organizers of PorcFest. The positive is that my community actually does like PorcFest, and I sell a whole bunch of merch at it. So we're going to have to see. But I was planning a big ass get together of even more people from my community at PorkFest this year, many of whom were looking at houses in New Hampshire. And then the organizer of the event, like, let me just like make sure people are clear about this. The only reason that PorkFest exists is to recruit new movers. That is the entire point of the Free State Project. That is the entire point of PorkFest. But then I have Constance Spencer saying that answering the questions of new movers is a waste of her time, and she refused to do it. And not only did Constance refuse to answer those questions, she blocked me from the PorkFest Twitter account. She blocked me from the Free State Project Twitter account. And I think that she's probably blocked like the potential new movers as well. And so I'm like, you know what? You guys talk about like how you want new movers to come to New Hampshire. Excuse me. And then you literally spit in their faces. You literally spit in the faces of potential new movers who are asking you very politely simple questions that you should have had the answers to. And not only did you refuse to answer their questions, Constance, you went in Telegram groups and called them a waste of your time. What is a good use of the Free State Project's time if it's not recruiting potential new movers? Like, am I asking too much when I have put my resources out there and done outreach into my community of supporters for years? Which, by the way, my community is a community that didn't have any that the Free State Project and the Libertarians in New Hampshire had no access to. I got them a whole new effing audience, not an insignificant audience. I have a bigger platform than pretty much every single person in New Hampshire that's a libertarian. Maybe not all of them. I'm not sure what the numbers are on Free Talk Live, but I have one of the biggest platforms of all libertarians in New Hampshire, and they are actively shitting on the new movers that I was specifically recruiting from a community that they didn't previously have access to. Well, I took this to Carla Garrick, because I was actually on pretty good terms with Carla. I've always have been on good terms with Carla, or so I thought. And I said, Carla, who's on the board of the Free State Project, why isn't Constance answering questions from potential new movers and blocking me from Free State Project accounts for daring to ask questions that she finds inconvenient? Well, this precipitated a month-and-a-half long argument over Facebook DMs in which Carla, on several occasions, insinuated that I had just made up these people, that there weren't really potential new movers. Like, they were literally at PorkFest last year. They were literally at PorkFest. Like, and Carla's like insinuating these aren't real people, and I had sent the emails from some secret sock accounts. I was like, you idiots literally met them at PorkFest. Like, this isn't hard. They were physically there. There are pictures of them being physically there. Why is it so hard to answer their questions? And so Carla spent more time arguing with me over whether or not Constance should be responsible for answering questions from potential new movers than it would have actually taken to just answer the questions in the first place. So at some point I was like, you know what, Carla? You guys obviously don't appreciate any of the things I did for you. You don't appreciate the platform that I gave you. You don't appreciate any of the outreach that I did for you. You don't appreciate any of the new movers that I brought you. You have no intention of like wooing these people at all. Why the ever-loving fuck does the Free State Project even exist? And Carla seemed to think that I was like begging her to like work with the Free State Project. And I was like, Carla, you're misinformed, because like, I have a platform that's bigger than all of you. You should be begging for access to my audience, which I gave you unquestioningly for almost 3 goddamn years. No effing more. If you're not going to answer the questions of like real people, if you're going to spit in their faces and go into libertarian groups in New Hampshire and call them a waste of time, if new movers are a waste of your time, then what the fuck are you doing? So, I needed to get that rant out of my system for a while. I've been really holding that one back. My point is that I think that Jeremy is ridiculous in this situation. I think Jeremy has been ridiculous for a while. I also think the Free State Project is ridiculous. I think Jason Sorens is basically a Democrat, like at absolute best. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I am not on anyone's team. I'm not on anyone's side. I think both sides suck at the moment. And both of them, and I mean everyone involved, needs to do like a long look in the mirror. A long look in the mirror and ask, what are you really doing? How is any of this? How is any of the bullshit on Twitter? How is any of the bullshit with the LPNH? How is ignoring potential new movers? How is any of this contributing to what you claim your goal is, which is to get liberty-minded people to move to New Hampshire? How is any of this helping? Because I'm going to say, I don't think it is. I don't think it is at all. Chris brought up, I can't defend Jeremy's antics at Soapbox Idol. Oh, Soapbox Idol was a whole other thing. And Chris, we're going to watch this if we have time to watch it. Soapbox Idol is an annual event at PorkFest where basically you get up on a soapbox and you rant. Listen, let me tell you what. Jeremy came unhinged at Soapbox Idol this past year. He really did. He was a judge at Soapbox Idol, and there's video of this. We'll watch it if we have time. He was a judge at Soapbox Idol, and he laid into one of the contestants. That contestant was legitimately crazy, but what Jeremy did was beyond the pale, to the point where half of the pavilion got up and left. That's how bad it was. And so I think that both sides are trash right now. I do hope that both sides will remove their heads from their asses and actually start focusing on things that matter. And until they do that, I've washed my hands of it. I don't want to be involved with any of this bullshit. I have important things that I'm working on that have a national impact, and I'm going to go do that. And you guys can dick around with whatever libertarian power play you're doing in New Hampshire right now. And it's like I really wish that we could find people that actually have their eyes on the prize instead of wanting to be like the king of a little small fiefdom that isn't actually accomplishing anything. With that, let's get into the struggle session and let's watch how Jeremy Kaufman was removed from the board of the Free State Project.
Some of the things that I'm aware of, the complaints that have come to me, and this is not to run down the contributions.
That's Jason Sorens.
This is to explain where we've come from and why we believe that we're at the end of our rope here. So first of all, there's even before I joined the board, was considering requesting to come onto the board. I talked to one of the former board members, who's certainly one of the most highly valued people in this movement for his historical contributions. He said that he left the board because of you, and he advised me actually to have nothing further to do with the Free State Project as a result. But I was willing to give things a chance. Several of the things that have become sort of more.
So we're starting this off with complete hearsay of someone who's not in this room saying something who's not even named, and that's the first piece of evidence as to why I'm not supposed to be on the board.
I mean, I think everyone can guess who this person is.
Well, I think okay, sure. So
yeah. So then there was the behavior at PorkFest, which is very alienating at the end of the Soapbox Idol event, and I believe even you've recognized that was improper behavior in that context, especially with the media.
Has he though? Because he went to Twitter and defended his behavior.
Right. So once again, I would request subject. So first of all, I'm not going to claim that I got that perfect.
I just want to point out one more thing, and thank you, Incognito, for the super chat. What sealed the deal moving to New Hampshire was Victor. Yes, my husband did more to recruit new movers to New Hampshire than the Free State Project, who considers Nick, who's one of the people that emailed them, to be a waste of their time. So thank you for that. So I just want to comment on what the hell was I? What the hell was it? Okay, so here's what I was going to say. Everyone in New Hampshire knew this was coming. Now, Justin said that in his tweet, and Chris, we read Justin's tweet earlier. Everyone in New Hampshire that's remotely involved in any of this knew that this was coming. If Jeremy wants to pretend that he had no idea that this was going to happen, that is just a flat out lie. And I know that because Carla had been threatening to do this for the better part of a year, if not even longer than that, but at least like a year, because she got pissed off at the LPNH Twitter stuff. And she told Jeremy, I will throw you under the bus if you don't cut this out. And Jeremy didn't listen, and he still continued to do what he was doing on Twitter. And so Carla was very direct with Jeremy, and I was in the groups where it happened over a year ago, saying, if you don't cut out the Twitter BS because it's impacting me, I'm going to throw you under the bus. Everyone knew this was going to happen. Everyone knew. Jeremy got removed from the Free State Project Twitter like a couple months ago. Everyone knew this was going to happen.
Perfectly. Okay. That event was abandoned by Carla, and a deranged and dangerous man was left on stage in complete violation of the rules. And the organization was
that wasn't Carla's fault.
Unable and unequipped
that was not Carla's fault.
There was a dangerous man on stage. So yes, I yelled at that man. I thought that was the appropriate response.
He was not a dangerous man. He was he was like loony, like his head was not all there. But there was nothing physically violent about this man. There was nothing that he had done. Like, what happened is this guy got up at Soapbox Idol and gave a really long rant that, quite frankly, Jeremy and the judges panel should have cut off. Carla had nothing to do with this, and about how, like, vaccines killed his daughter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Jeremy is very pro-vaccine. This guy was very anti-vaccine. And Jeremy then basically instigated and provoked this guy to like almost attack him. But like the guy by himself, without Jeremy's provocation, wasn't dangerous. You gotta understand, and I'm not excusing physical violence, but this guy had just told a story about his daughter dying, and then Jeremy picked up a microphone and said, loser, 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 over and over and over again. Like, if you've just given a story about your daughter dying and you've got some guy calling you a loser into a microphone, that might snap even the most sane of people. And again, we'll watch the video of this later if we have time, but like, it was really effing bad.
With dealing with someone like
what
this.
You are indicating now is exactly the reason we have to get you off the board.
I just said that.
Happened.
Well, so this is what I would say, that people experience this event quite differently, because you can go on to the comments of the video, and there are lots of people on my side and saying, I'm glad that Jeremy did what he did. You know, the son of RFK's campaign manager.
You know, we need to, I'm just going to pull up this video really quick, because I feel like we need to at least watch what Jeremy did. I didn't realize it was going to be so early on. I just need to get onto Dan Smotz's YouTube channel, because Dan Smotz, of course, got the whole thing on video. But I really want you guys to see this, because this was like next effing level. Where is the channel, Dan? System is down, podcast. There it is. All right, let me see. Jeremy. Okay. Here it is. Let me just get this set up real quick. F it. I'm not gonna watch this guy's whole rant because it was effing long, but I want to show you guys what Jeremy did anyway. Well, it's only 11 minutes long, I guess. Okay.
Hello. I'd like to thank everyone for coming up on stage. You're all fearless. If you'd hold it a little more in front of you, we hear. Yeah? All right. I want to say thank you to all the men and women up here and that young kid who are fearless to come up here and speak in front of you guys. You guys are brutal. I love it. I need you guys. I'm a 5th generation New Hampshireite. My family's been waiting for you since the Civil War. That wasn't funny. We're dying here. We're dying. My 17-year-old daughter, I get 5 daughters, by the way. She's 6'3". The most beautiful red hair you've ever seen in your entire life. She'd stare at you, and you were scared shitless because she was so pure of heart. My family is the Frank War family, which means true heart. And we've been in New Hampshire for a long time, holding space for you guys to get here. I've been waiting for the Army to show up. We got the opportunity that we have never had since my family came here. There's a war going on. There's a war of consciousness. There's a war of ignorance. There's a war of sleeping little children in adult bodies. You guys are fat. You're drunk. You're a bunch of drug addicts. Okay? You go to the doctor and you do what they tell you because they're there to kill you, by the way. Because they killed my 17-year-old 6 weeks ago. It's the second attempt they made on her, and they got her the second time. I've been fighting for my life, for all my children, to get to the point where they can have children. She was given the vaccine, and she was dead within a week.
Oh my God.
The first time was the MMR when she was 2 years old. She died in my arms. But I was medically trained. I was ready. I knew what to do. I got a bathtub full of water, and I put all the ice in that bathtub, and I brought her back to life. Did CPR, and my daughter was alive. I got a big trash bag of ice, and I brought her to the hospital. And they fucking wanted me to wait in the waiting room. I fucking broke the door down at the hospital and got my daughter in the hospital because she was dying from the MMR vaccine that she had 3 hours before. There's a war on the people. And it's not the government that's the problem, it's you guys. Because you're weak.
I want to explain something, a couple of things. So number one, Soapbox Idol has like 3-minute rants. You're not supposed to go over 3 minutes. This guy's already at 3 minutes. And so he was already going to start annoying people with how much he was talking. But of course, it's like a heart-wrenching story, right? He's literally talking about his daughter dying. So that's not something that like you necessarily want to cut off, okay? The other thing I want to explain to people, like people are saying like they're jeering. Soapbox Idol is supposed to be like a fun event where like you like you're supposed to give a rant, like you it's kind of like the judges are supposed to kind of like critique you and rip you apart and all that stuff. But this was a little bit different, and this was at the very end of the night. And so this guy's already going over time. This was an event that Carla was supposed to organize, and she just decided she just didn't want to do it. And so this guy, AJ, picked it up last minute, did a great job. AJ did a great job. But like this guy came on last. And so you'd had it and the other thing is too, most of the people at PorkFest are anti-vax. And I'm not talking like anti-COVID vaccine. Well, I shouldn't say most. Probably about half of the people at PorkFest, this is a libertarian festival, like at least half of the people at PorkFest are like anti any vaccine at all. Okay, so this was actually a really good audience for someone that was doing like an anti-vaccine talk. All right, let's continue.
And you're ignorant and you're afraid. And I say that with love. Because I was afraid too. Until they finally got one of my daughters.
There's AJ. Telling him he's at time.
We got this guy who came
AJ
here.
just told him he was at time.
I know you don't like him, but he's talking about it. And you know what? Let's get him and Trump on the fucking stage and talk about it. Our children are dying. Every fucking libertarian, join the Democratic Party, get this fucking guy on stage so we can have him and Trump going at it and talk about it. I don't give a shit who wins, but guess what? 50 cents on every dollar in this state comes from the feds. And I can prove it, I have firsthand knowledge. And you know when you go into a court and you feel that shit in your stomach, it's called cognitive dissonance. Because you're walking into a fucking gunfight with a pocket knife and you guys think you know what you're fucking doing. And you don't. Because I go in a courtroom with 25 cops and we spend 4 hours going back and forth with the judge. And you know the problem? It's the executive branch. It's the prosecutors. It's the cops. It's the ones who are inciting you to have a fight because you guys are so busy looking to fucking mix it up. Which is cool, and I like that, and that's why you guys are here. But let's get someone in the White House who has the pedigree to at least have the conversation and stop this shit. So your kids and my kids don't have to go in a courtroom and fight for themselves for years on end. You know, one last thing. When my daughter, Sophie, was 7, I put all my effort into her. She became autistic because of this. It took me 6 years to get her to put her clothes in her dresser. And you know what happened a month later? The fucking cops showed up at my house in the middle of the night when I was sleeping with
Look,
my 4
AJ
daughters
is like
in bed,
waiting there
and they
because he's
took me
expecting
away.
this guy to wrap up because he's already gone over
And
the
people
time
say,
limit.
"Oh, I'm sorry for your loss." And I'm like, "Don't be sorry for my loss. Be sorry that my daughter's protector was taken away from her 7 years ago. And I spent the last 7 years fighting in a courtroom to protect my daughters. I almost lost one to the gender manipulation, my oldest. Her name was Jules. She's the most beautiful girl you've ever seen, woman now. And she called herself Augustus Caesar because she was trying to be the man of the house because I wasn't there. Hormone therapy. Blockers, hormone blockers, testosterone. She was 14 fucking years old. You know what? I broke my restraining order. I went to my daughter and I told her that she wasn't me and to cut that shit out, and she stopped. But what did they do? They gave the vaccine to all my girls, and one of them died. You guys get together. You know, yeah, we're practicing, we're fighting with each other, we're getting our shit together, but let's get together. Let's get this guy in fucking Washington who showed up here, showed us the respect that New Hampshire's the first in the nation, because we're the first in the nation. I'm a 5th generation New Hampshireite. This is my country, and I have to put up with those other 49, and I'll do it because 50% of the money comes here, whether you guys like it or not. So let's get organized, let's get together, let's decide amongst ourselves to do something in this state of 1.3 million people and fucking take over the world, because the administrative or the executive branch of the United States government is the military of the world. And we in New Hampshire, in this room of about, I don't know, 200 people, actually have the power to take back the greatest force in the world by bringing consciousness that we're killing our own kids and we're eating our own young. Thank you for listening to me. And just,
Well, you're all about to hate me, man, because you might be a captivating guy, but I think you're completely fucking insane. I think you're completely fucking insane. And I think all of you who want to associate libertarianism with anti-vax bullshit, you can do it, but you won't get me along for the fucking ride, because it is bullshit. I have a degree in physics. I've gone through the science. I have looked at it, and anyone who wants to bring the fucking facts here can get with me, and you know I'm happy to take an unpopular position when there is one. And this is the correct position. The vast majority of vaccines work. They save lives. I don't know what happened to your daughter, man, and I'm sorry to be harsh to you on stage like this, because I am sorry. That's a terrible thing. Terrible.
get sober.
I'd be happy.
Yeah, you're fucking sober.
Yeah, sure. Bring it, man. Let's have a factual discussion. All right, so I'm sorry that your daughter's dead, but you're not going to believe zero. No counter argument.
About
Put the fucking mic
It's
down.
not anti-vax.
Put the
Make
mic
me.
down.
Make me. This is my fucking country. It's called New Hampshire.
Get him off, Constance. Get him
These
off.
people are here to New Hampshire.
Get him off.
No. Just listen.
This is not
Let me respond. I'm not looking for your opinion. I'm not looking for your opinion. I'm not anti-vax. I just want the conversation to
You
be
said
public.
elect Robert Kennedy.
No,
so
I
we can have a
didn't.
discussion
I
about
said
vaccine.
have the discussion.
Zero. Get off the stage, loser.
Fuck you. Come on. You want to bring my daughter back?
I'm sorry your daughter's
Alright, you
dead.
just called me a loser.
Yeah.
I'm not going to acquiesce to this. I'm not going to acquiesce. This is how we treat
like a
people.
loser.
I wasn't looking to compete. I was just sharing the truth. Sean. No, look at your mother. Listen. I
If you say your daughter died because a magical god struck her out of the sky, it doesn't mean you endorse delusion.
You're being aggressive. You need to stop. Stand down.
Let's do it. Let's do the podcast. Let's bring the facts. Anyone, anytime. You know, I'll go on any show.
Yeah,
because
people
you're behaving
call
like
things.
one.
It's
Because
not
you're
the
behaving
same as
like one.
being violent.
I'm sorry. How many times do I say it? How many how's in Israel, man? You've lost control of me. You've lost control. I'm sorry that your daughter's dead. I've said it multiple times. Nope.
No. You need to
I'm
step
not gonna
off the stage. Okay. wanted this to end. We had a celebration.
You also over time. That was like 10 minutes. Follow the fucking rules, loser.
So I think that we were kind of set up here because he has a very sad story and somebody put him on the list. But this is not the rant. This is not the place to have this discussion.
Just shut up and be quiet. Listen.
Puberty
Get
girls
off the stage. Off the stage. You're the one who, I follow rules when I'm drunk. I follow rules when I'm drunk. You can't follow rules when you're sober. Loser. Loser. Off. Get him off. Do we have rules or not? Do we have rules or not? Get him off. No. Okay, we can use that's what we use for. Yeah.
We'll figure it out. Not him. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry for his kid.
All right, so that's basically what happened at PorkFest. Now everyone has seen the video. Everyone knows what happened. It was really uncomfortable, and so I was there. People said, "Ask." Like I was there. I was like literally sitting in the first row. Half of the damn pavilion got up and left before the end of Soapbox Idol. Like it was. This was my third year of PorkFest. Nothing like this has ever happened in Soapbox Idol that I've seen. It was gross, and it was really uncomfortable. And I don't even care who's right in the situation. It just like it shouldn't have happened. So when they're talking about the Soapbox Idol thing, now we're gonna go back over to the Free State Project board meeting. That's what they're talking about. So now everyone is on the same page.
For New Hampshire came up to me after that event. He said, he shook my hand. He said, "Thank you so much. So many people aren't as brave as you are and keep their mouths shut around these people." Dozens of people came up to me that night and thanked me for what I did.
So now Jeremy is claiming, I think my microphone's like way louder. Hang on, I'll turn down my microphone so everyone can like turn up their volume or something. So now Jeremy is claiming that I listen, there was universal, like people were universally horrified at what happened at PorkFest. AJ didn't know what to do. AJ had gone out on a limb, Carla had dropped this project entirely at the last minute, which I don't think was very professional of her to do. Like she just decided she didn't want to do it. AJ picked it up so we could still have the event because the event itself is effing awesome. AJ did a great job putting it together. Like I talked to AJ for an extended amount of time afterwards. He was like, what could I have done? What could I have done? Like he was freaking the fuck out over what Jeremy did at an event that he took at the last minute and set up entirely in like a couple of hours. And so for Jeremy in this meeting to be able to be saying, I had all these people coming up to me thanking me for my behavior. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I don't believe it at all. Like the people that half of the pavilion walked out because they're anti-vax and they didn't agree with what Jeremy said. The rest of the people there were like watching in horror over what happened. So I'm sorry, Jeremy's full of shit if he's claiming that the majority of people thanked him for how he handled that situation. That's not true.
Dozens of people came up to me and said the opposite, Jeremy.
Yes, exactly. And that's how, and we don't agree on things. We don't agree on vaccines. I think the people who have these views about vaccines, about them being, and I know this is a big part of it for you, Carla, because I know you believe that every vaccine kills children. I know you believe that no children should get vaccinated.
You know what? Please go find
these kinds of out there beliefs. And I know some of these anti-vaccine people get.
Jeremy, you can't find any evidence.
You've told me.
Mischaracterizing things.
Carla, you've told me, and I've talked to other people about it as well. So
now hearsay is okay when you do it.
Yeah, that's right, Carla. I agree with her there.
I don't think we just are going to go down the list.
But the point is,
there are don't have an opportunity to make rejoinders until.
I assume that this video will be shareable at the end of this. This will be the evidence that the Free State Project will be putting out in terms of its trial. It's going to be proud of what it conducted and the evidence that it's presenting. right?
So I think you're mischaracterizing what's happening, Jeremy. What we are doing as an organization is we are trying to act in the best interest of the entire organization.
No, you are not. You're not. You're a
Yes,
small group
we
of people
are.
trying to protect Carla's ego specifically, and a little bit Jason's. And you're going to do tremendous damage to the movement, because I think the vision that I have for the Free State movement has become a tremendously popular one. And that is what you guys feel is threatening to you. And you're doing this because you're.
This is what I told you at the beginning. Jeremy is the only one, the only libertarian in New Hampshire. Jeremy alone can save New Hampshire. Jeremy alone can lead the Free State Project. I'm sorry. Like, Jeremy has created a cult of personality around him I personally find to be really distasteful.
You're scared of it. And you feel that you need to reattain control.
There is,
okay? And all I'm saying is that there needs to be space for people like me, because there are a lot. I'm not saying that I'm not demanding
outside the board.
There is not.
I'm saying you're part of
So
the movement, but you are jeopardizing.
Who on the board represents the archetype of the libertarians that I represent within the Free State movement, which is one of the largest coalitions.
Made up of archetypes.
Of course it is. That's the point. We sell New Hampshire to libertarians. We're supposed to. We want to have the institutional libertarians, the activist libertarians, the culturally conservative libertarians, the culturally liberal. We want to be represented with the different geographic areas. We talk about this all the time. That the idea of
Jeremy, this has nothing to do with what you believe. It's about how you communicate and how you treat your fellow board members and volunteers.
I have been nothing but nice to fellow board members and fellow volunteers.
Jeremy, I need to understand your level of respect for each of the board members. I mean, is there any cohesion in your mind that you feel that you are a part of this group, these professionals that are spending their time, and that you feel that when we go out in public and we represent FSP, that we've got your back, just so we can assume that you have our back in speaking about the board and about us individually?
Well, right. I have your guys back 100% in general. That doesn't mean I'm going to defend everything you've done, and I don't ask that you defend everything that I've done, nor do I think that everything that you do represents the movement or the Free State Project when you do it, and nor do I think that that should be the attitude, towards me.
No, I'm not saying defend. What I'm saying is do you represent a level of respect for your board members as an FSP board member? That's what I'm saying. As we should all do that. I'm not saying you have to defend every single thing that we do. Absolutely.
I mean, literally the only event that's ever put my question of my respect for you in my head is this: what's happening right now. I've always respected all of you. If I've ever shown any of you disrespect, I apologize. Carla and I have been beefing, but I've been trying to find ways to peacefully work that out. That's why I keep encouraging, let's mediate, let's sit down, let's talk it out. I want to be friends with Carla. I want to be friends with
This is pretty representative of what you'll experience in libertarian circles. Let me tell you what.
You're on the board.
That's your ego. That is your ego, Carla. That is your need.
And we can't have board members.
You pushed Jason Osborne out. You pushed Dennis Pratt out, and you're pushing me out. This is the repeated pattern of the organization. As soon as someone starts to get bigger than Carla, they have to go. If you want to see the repeated pattperson of why people have left this movement, it is this woman who has not been able. Carla, then why do you push everyone out? Push people out after person after person after person. Talk to Dennis. Talk to Dennis Pratt. Dennis Pratt will tell you I'm the only person. He would be at the best Port Fest that's ever happened. Ask Dennis Pratt. Say, Dennis, is there anyone in the Free State Project board that you could handle working with? He will tell you Jeremy Kaufman only. Okay, why am I the only person on the board?
I don't believe that for one red second. Jeremy, that's such bullshit. I don't believe that okay, maybe Dennis might disagree with me, and he is certainly welcome to share his opinion in the comments if he sees this, or on Twitter, or wherever he does, but I'm sorry. I cannot imagine. Dennis Pratt will literally work with anyone who wants to be productive. He will. And I cannot imagine a universe in which Dennis Pratt says the only person at the Free State Project that I'm working with is Jeremy Kaufman. That makes absolutely no sense and doesn't align with anything that I know about Dennis. I'm sorry.
board that has a good relationship with Jason Osborne right now. Our most successful member.
That's news to me.
I think you're.
But Mark has
Let's get back to the material.
So I'm not saying the only one, but the point is, yeah. So the claim is yes that I yelled at someone at Soapbox Idol, a deranged person who was breaking the rules. I yelled at him. You're right, and that probably wasn't the right way to deal with it. I agree that probably wasn't the right way to deal with it. Okay.
So, and when we've had complaints about communications messages, you've said
well,
that.
Let's sever communications and board, because right now it is if we want
okay,
to talk,
but these are related because
For the record, the reason we are having the board conversation is because I gave you an instruction on comms. You literally said you will not listen to me, took board discussion, put it in comms, weaponized the team against the board. All of that is documentable. So
I absolutely believe Carla in this. That absolutely to me sounds like something Jeremy would do. So I don't have proof of it. I don't know for sure that she's telling the truth, but and if Jeremy did that, if Jeremy explicitly tried to weaponize board discussions against the comms team and turn comms against the board, that is fucking egregious. And I absolutely believe Carla's telling the truth on that.
Let's go one by one, because I don't think I did anything.
The comms situation with you, and you reacted in such a extreme fashion that actually underscored the problem that we are experiencing with you, i.e., you are behaving erratically and with disrespect to your fellow colleagues in a way that makes it untenable for us to work with you. And that is why everything since then has been in writing.
But you're very clever, Carla. I'll give you that. You did a very good job stirring up drama in just the right way.
Oh my God.
This is drama that came to us.
This, by the way, how Jeremy is handling this is how Jeremy handles criticism over anything. I don't know if anyone here was in the Twitter space that Jeremy did with like Dave Smith to explain the outlandish racist tweets coming out of the LPNH Twitter. Sadly, the whole thing wasn't recorded because Dave Smith apparently doesn't know how Twitter spaces work, but Jeremy was like beyond a condescending dickhead in that space and just double down, like arrogant, condescending, like the same thing he's doing to Carla, he did there, and he does this anytime anyone questions the brilliance of Jeremy Kaufman.
The comms policy to other people.
Let's go through. I mean, so since if this is again part of my trial, I think then the best.
It is not a trial. Please stop framing something.
Yeah, this is an inquisition. Absolutely.
You are getting fired from a board where you're not.
No, this is a Carla. We're a movement that has a nonprofit. This is an inquisition from prominent leaders within the movement trying to say that I now lie outside the center of it.
To characterize it in your own little hero
I tend to be better at understanding what's going on than most people, and that's what's happening here.
A break and come back when you're healthy.
Carla, I'm happy to do very fitness or intellectual tests or personality tests, whatever you want to do.
This is an intervention. We all want to be your friends. We all want to.
And what do you think you're intervening on? What is the behavior? So I've yelled at
you keep interrupting me every time I try to go down the list. So.
But then let's go. We need to go carefully thing by thing. Then what's the next thing on your list after port?
So Soapbox Idol. There's refusing to manage the comms team as comms team leader. There's refusing to accept.
I did not refuse to manage. Well, let's hold on.
Hang on. You're interrupting again.
I said let's go one by one. I never refused to manage the comms team, but I basically ceded management of the comms team to Carla. Carla has taken over the comms team.
No, you did not do that. Where did you do that?
You said
in the sense that I've implicitly
you didn't do that. Maybe you did it in your head, but I can't actually read your mind.
Well,
all I can read is whatever.
Chris, I think there's a lot of truth to this. Chris says the most charitable assessment I can make is that we have a badly burned out activist. Sadly, burnout is a serious problem. I can understand that, to be honest. Again, I don't wish what Jeremy has had to deal with the SEC onto anyone, but at some point, he has to take responsibility for his actions and for making sure that he is in a state of mind where he can like be around and like work with people if this is what he's going to do. Like I stopped wanting to work with people in New Hampshire. I don't want to work with them anymore. I really don't. There are a couple here and there that I'll work with, but like when I decided I no longer had the patience or the wherewithal to deal with all the libertarian bullshit in New Hampshire, you want to know what I did? I fucking walked away and I did my own thing. And I no longer put that on other people, right? And so he hasn't done that. And he's saying again, I am the only one that can save New Hampshire. I am the only one that can run the Free State Project. Well, that's just not true. I'm sorry.
You put in writing or say on camera.
Okay. Carla, you have complete executive authority over the organization. You've already been in the comms chat coming in and saying
a direct instruction that you actually
I have not ignored any of your direct instructions. Absolutely.
Outside the board.
I do not.
That's why we are here now.
Why are we just yelling back and forth? Jason has a charge of that I refuse to manage the comms team. Can you elaborate on that charge, please?
So
In what way did I refuse to manage the comms team?
When the complaints came out about posts on Facebook, you said that it wasn't really your job to control her messaging or to train her exactly what we want. That your philosophy is that basically you let volunteers do what they want once they're on the team. And the sense of the board was that that is not how we want these teams to be managed, that we want team leaders to manage and train their volunteers and to be accountable to the executive director. After that, Carla.
So hold on. Hold on. So first of all, I'd like to just clarify as we go. So I did talk about her messaging. My strategy is not a refusal to manage, but an understanding of the way that libertarians tend to operate, which is they like to have their turf in their domain. And it's also an appreciation of the fact that because I find people who are good at what they do, they're already paying attention to the replies and the engagement on the post and when the community has a problem. So it is almost always unnecessary to do an added on the top one. But I did talk to about that post. I just use an informal management style where I'm making sure that we understand what we're doing. I don't, this formalization for our organization of this is your first warning and so on. This is all very new. I'm willing to go along with that system. I'm also willing to stop being the comms manager so long as I'm still permitted to operate and communicate on behalf of the project and the organization. So if you want to change the hierarchical structure of the organization, I believe strongly in obeying the dictates and the rules of the roles that you have. And if there are changes that are proposed to be made there, they can potentially be made. I mean, I think you should at least hear the counter argument, or perhaps wait for the ED. I don't know why we're rushing to make these before an ED, but continue.
When Carla relieved you of your duties as communications manager, you refused to obey and said that you would take it public.
That is not
threatening to damage the organization. When a controversy came up.
Let me respond to that. The reason, of course. I believe that I am an effective communicator on behalf of the Free State Project, right? That's what this is all about. That's what this entire conversation is about. That's why I expressed what it's about earlier, that this is about whether this is about the movement and some leaders within it.
No, you just okay. This is about you being a board member.
I know, Carmen. But I sensed this months ago that this was what was happening, okay? And so I knew that fight then.
Really, Jeremy, how did you sense that? Was it when Carla told you to cut the bullshit or else there were going to be consequences? You psychicked that maybe something like this would happen? Because not only did you sense it, Jeremy, pretty much everyone around this community in New Hampshire sensed that this was going to happen.
And again, let's remember, Carla just came into the chat one day and said, Jeremy, you're removed from comms. There was no she didn't sit down and talk with me. She never asked me to change anything or do anything differently. We never had any real substantial disagreements. She just came in and said, "You're out." Okay. So there had been something that was simmering in her head that I wasn't aware of for a very long time. And I knew that day when that happened, that there was going to be.
The board had to vote to remove Jeremy from the comms team. That was a board vote. I know for a fact it was a board vote because I heard about it while it was happening, literally while the vote was happening.
Can you
break down what happened on Twitter right after Pork Fest?
Yes, exactly. This is what this is about. This is about this. This is, guys, and it's so silly to let it become this huge thing. Carla and I have had a beat. Carla is very upset.
Had your back up till this meeting.
Carla is very upset about what happened that Saturday of Pork Fest. I am sorry, Carla. I'm sorry to you. I'm sorry that I did something that hurt you. Okay. That was never my intention to do something that would hurt you.
Sorry for your behavior, not how I feel about it.
Right. I said that I did something. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry for what I did. And that what I did hurt you. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
But there's no functional organization that would tolerate this kind of behavior where you refuse to obey direct orders, and that was the first one.
Okay, so wait, hold on. Let me be clear, Jason, because I'm not sure if you know what you are joining, okay, or what you are joining. This is a movement that has a nonprofit, okay?
We're the board of directors of the nonprofit.
Exactly.
Not the board of directors.
But we can operate by our movement's norms, and this organization has always had these kinds of norms. I've been involved operationally in some capacity, and of course Rachel was involved before me. And the norms that you're proposing here are new norms. I'm not going to be the only person unfamiliar with them. I'm not saying we can't adopt them.
That's not true. These norms of decency have always existed. The reason it's coming up is because of the way you behave.
I mean the organizational norms. Carla, who else here Carla, I accept that I've possibly been rude to you, and we should talk through that. Does anyone else here feel that I've been rude to them?
A bit.
Okay. How do you feel that I was rude to you? I didn't know. I never intended to be rude to you.
I think your behavior is rude, and I just don't think that you realize it. I think you say things and act in a way that's I'm not going to use the word unhinged, but just unchecked. And I don't think that you even realize it. I think that you say things and
I think that's a really fair assessment.
Sometimes you pause and you're like, oh, well, maybe you're right. And then other times you don't, and you double down.
I agree.
And you get extremely defensive.
I agree.
So, I mean, personally, I'm aware of a few things that you did and said that I don't want to bring up right now, but I know that they were not very flattering of myself or other people that I know. And, from me personally, I think the lack of respect for board members and for the mission of the organization that doesn't necessarily fall into what you view the vision.
Well, to be really clear, Carla Garrick doesn't care about the mission of the organization either, because Carla Garrick believes that answering the questions of potential new movers is a waste of the organization's resources and a waste of time.
To be, but allowing other people to have perspective, contribution according to what they bring to the board is lacking. I don't think that you respect other people. I think you see yourself as the godfather of the board, which, I mean, I am not taking away any of the hard work, the determination, everything that you've done for the movement or the board. Absolutely not. I do respect you, Jeremy, entirely. But I just don't think that you feel that way about myself or other members of the board and how your behavior is. You go to Twitter, you attacked Carla on Twitter, you guys go back and forth about that whole Pork Fest thing. And I'm not making a big deal. That's between, you and Carla. I'm looking at your behavior that's directed to a fellow board member. Our board needs to have absolute cohesion and respect for itself. And we have to function.
I don't know how I'm supposed to respond to what Carla has been doing in a way that is perfectly polite. She's trying to push me out. So yes, that bothers me. Okay. But if we can find a way to work together, there is no one in this movement that I actually dislike or have a beef with. Okay. I have opinions about people. I don't think that just because I'm a board member, that means I have to love everyone or agree with everyone. I'm not aware of any time I've been rude or said anything negative about you, Caroline. Not one.
Frequently call people dumb or stupid, and I've seen that even on our board meetings about people who are not here. So I think there's a
I've never called anyone on the board.
Listen, Jeremy Kaufman is an extremely smart person. I have a really hard time believing that Jeremy doesn't realize that his tone is condescending and that he's manipulating by nitpicking little things and distracting from the entire. I have a really hard time believing that Jeremy doesn't know what he's doing because, like, I'm gonna say, like, he's a fucking genius. He is. Jeremy is extraordinarily smart. So for you to, like, I don't know when I've done something. Like, bullshit, Jeremy. Come on.
Dumb. Absolutely not.
okay.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
It's not crazy,
I
Jeremy.
do refer to sometimes things as dumb decisions or dumb ideas. I make dumb decisions and have dumb ideas. That's just a classification word, but I'm usually very careful with my language to refer to decisions or ideas as dumb. I would admit that I've done dumb things. What I did at Porkfest was dumb. Okay, that's just the way I talk. And again, lots of people talk this way. Lots of work environments work this way. Have you ever worked in a blue-collar work environment? Do you know that we have lots of people who are comfortable talking this way, that go to jobs that talk this way, that have environments that talk this way all of the time?
But Jeremy, I serve on a board of 2 people for my companies. That owns 3.
I don't care. This isn't your company.
Oh, that's so respectful, Jeremy. I don't care.
I don't believe I've ever called anyone here dumb.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, you're saying that things that you've done are dumb, and that's just a term that you may use or reference for an.
Can you understand the distinction between calling someone dumb and someone actually being and something that they did being dumb? Like,
and by the way, Jeremy thinks that this video is like a great reflection on him, and the cult of personality that surrounds Jeremy also think that Jeremy is the hero in this situation. And this is what I really don't understand. How can anyone watch this and think that Jeremy looks like the hero in this situation? Because I'm sorry, I just don't objectively think that's true. And again, I'm not on either side. Right now, I'm actually far more pissed off at Carla and the Free State Project than I am at Jeremy. I think that Jeremy's been behaving like this for a really long time. This is like par for the goddamn course. I'm way more pissed off at Carla and the Free State Project alienating and spitting in the faces of new movers who were house hunting at Porkfest last year than I am at Jeremy. But the fact that Jeremy thinks that like this video makes him look good is just, it eludes me how anyone can think that's the case.
Like the difference between labeling an action or something that a choice rather
I don't think this is material to anything.
Okay.
We go to the next
Sure.
issue. You have certainly, Jeremy.
I mean, you guys are going to look embarrassing when this goes out.
See?
You're going to be embarrassed by this, and the organization is going to be embarrassed by this. This is embarrassing. Continue.
It is embarrassing, but not quite in the way you think.
You'll see.
Well,
I actually agree with Carla there.
And I was getting people sending unsolicited screenshots from the comms team when you apparently, I didn't see it, but tested by multiple people, used the FSP account to retweet a self-declared racist who has said, and I've seen the screenshots, who has said that the violent white power 14-word slogan is perfectly fine.
Oh
and you
my
said that
fucking God,
his
Jeremy.
views were fully within libertarianism, and you refused to stop retweeting this account.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Again, another example of
why Jeremy has to double down on the racist. By the way, every tweet you see coming out of the LPNH account that's about race or looks like it's overtly racist, He's the one sending them. I don't know why Jeremy has such a thing in his craw over race and why he talks about it all the time, why he's obsessed with taking the worst possible positions on it that he knows are just going to result in outrage and uproar, why he's retweeting fucking self-professed racists from the Free State Project account. Like, and this has been going on for a long time, and it's only gotten worse and worse and worse the entire time I've been involved.
Obeying direct orders from the executive
No,
director
so
and pursuing your own private messaging agenda at the expense of what we all believe. There are
And
people
what-
in this movement who are
Jason,
horrified and associated
if you try to tie this to one anonymous Twitter account and the fact that he was retweeted once, again, this is why it's going to be in a free state, a really popular free state. This is what's going to make it so embarrassing. First of all, never ever violated the directive. The directive to not retweet him was completely obeyed. Okay, the idea
that you weren't going to obey it.
No, that is
Jeremy, we can only judge what you say in writing, and you told me you would not obey things. Then
show me in writing.
Different.
Share the picture or put it up on the screen where I said in writing that I would not obey your request to.
You until I asked you in writing on the board group whether you thought you were subject to the bylaws, and you realized that, oh, you're in trouble now because you're moving parts around.
I have been very strict in obeying every directive and order you have given to me.
Jeremy,
okay, if you feel I haven't followed one that I didn't understand,
after a huge amount of fighting and drama, and that's the problem here.
That is not
having to do with this, erasing us from our agenda.
Okay, Carl, if you're going to come in and vastly change existing policy, you have to actually propose some kind of policy or have some kind of new standard. The standard in the case of this stupid Twitter thing.
Something. I'm the acting executive director of the organization.
Okay.
You are failing on comms. I asked you to step down very nicely. You told me you wouldn't. You then went to the comms team. You weaponized them against you. They sent in letters.
Because I recruited them in the comms team. Because a ton of people agree with me. And that's what I am saying.
So Jeremy triangulated the comms team against the board of the Free State Project when Jeremy was asked to step down and he didn't want to. And by the way, again, I know for a fact that was a board vote. That was not just like Carla making a decision as executive director. I know for a fact that was that had to do with the board.
Hey,
Jeremy, you have a very distorted sense of where people's...
Well, hang on. Sin says, this sounds like so much like James O'Keefe. You know what's funny, Sin? Is the cult of Jeremy was actually saying that this is exactly like Project Veritas ousting James O'Keefe. And of course, viewers of my channel know, because I'm the only, one of the few people now that's done journalism on this. James O'Keefe wasn't ousted by the board. That was a story he made up and peddled all over conservative media when it wasn't true. And now Jeremy is doing exactly the goddamn same. So Jeremy and James O'Keefe on this one are arm in arm, and I think that that's very true. The ironic thing is people who don't really understand what happened with Project Veritas and James O'Keefe, that James O'Keefe left the organization, abandoned it, left all the people there just because he couldn't get his own ego in check, was about to lose the organization their nonprofit status. Jeremy's doing exactly the same thing to the fucking Free State Project. It's very similar.
Loyalties lie. So you only are seeing the side, and it's great, and you have brought a lot of value. So I don't want this to actually devolve to anything beyond. What we are asking you is, there is a way, if you actually care about the organization.
No, zero chance. That's not. You
then,
can, if you
then
that's not on the table.
You are conflating what the role of the board is with what the role of the movement is. But in order for us to function as an organization, it is absurd that someone could say that our names as a board should be attached to anonymous accounts because that's your whim.
No. So let's be very clear here. Please articulate positively the new standard that you're even proposing, because we don't generally go through
Jeremy,
everything. We retweet conservatives. We retweeted
to have a board conversation about what our comms policy was. That was what my original email was. You then totally shit the bed by doing like 14 crazy things that in no corporate structure would have happened. So there was no.
What is this constant reference to corporate structure? We've always been a movement that has the structure of a movement. We've always been volunteer. It's volunteer teams and volunteers doing stuff. It's people giving their time. We've never been this hierarchical organization.
Something else. You cannot continue to sit on the board while acting.
So sever them. So if you want to first of all, I think that it doesn't make sense to be combining this comm stuff with this board stuff.
Carla, because you literally did not work with me on the comm stuff, escalated to here. This is why we are having the board discussion. Until last night, I was still saying, let's make it a comms thing.
Carla, we have never even had the board discussion about the comm stuff. I think it would be great for us to have
the comms team when I tried to have that discussion. The way you behave, the cause and effect is the reason we are here.
So essentially what I'm getting out of this is Carla had an issue with Jeremy. And she wanted to like discuss that amongst themselves. Jeremy got pissed off because he didn't like what Carla was saying. Jeremy then went to the comms team to turn the comms team against Carla and the board, but which basically put Carla in a position of needing to escalate it to the board based on a result of Jeremy's actions.
Please. We have one of our biggest donors, perhaps our biggest donor ever, has said that he will not donate as long as you're on the board. He's also said he's not going to donate to the Free State documentary. These are things I'm hearing about, and I mentioned that the head of a libertarian organization. We saw your post defending.
I just want to emphasize this, like stuff like this, where like donors have like withdrawn, where people have withdrawn resources, where no one wants to be involved, where people are getting their jobs called, their companies called, people are losing contracts. This shit has been going on for the last 2 years as a result of the LP&H Twitter, of which Jeremy is one of the primary people for tweeting from that Twitter. I'm not saying that's related to this thing with the Free State Project, but like this is not. Jeremy's trying to make it seem like the only reason that the FSP is doing this is because of this one donor. But like crap like this, where people have had enough and they're like pulling out resources and they don't want to be involved and they don't want to be connected to anything, has been happening for 2 straight years as a result of the LP&H Twitter. So the issues aren't like directly connected, but I just want people to have some perspective to know that like, I bet you it's not just as a result of this one donor. I'm not saying this one donor doesn't matter, but for Jeremy to frame this publicly as it's this one donor that's causing him to be kicked off the board, I just don't think is accurate. There is a bigger picture in New Hampshire that has been taking place over the last 2 years that people outside of New Hampshire who are not involved may not have any idea about.
Apartheid and said this guy's a lunatic.
Okay, so
your personal messaging affects.
This is going to be so embarrassing. This is going to be so embarrassing.
Our organization. It affects all of us. We all get tarnished.
We have people who have tweeted.
We have bullshit, and we're sick of it.
I'm not a racial collectivist. Shut the fuck up. That is so dishonest. And it is disgusting of you. It is disgusting.
This is not the place.
Wow, Jeremy.
That is
wow.
so disgusting.
Wow.
I'm disgusted.
I can't believe.
Wow.
What do you think I believe about people? How have I given you ever an ounce of evidence that I don't consider everyone as an individual?
Jeremy, we judge your words and your behavior.
Jeremy literally tweets that the IQ of that black people have a lower IQ than white people, and then he wants to like say that he's not a racial collectivist. Bullshit, Jeremy. You make posts about that are racially collectivist all the effing time. And by the way, I don't actually think Jeremy's a racist. To be really clear, I don't actually think that Jeremy's a racist. But for some reason, he feels like this is his hill to die on, to make the tweets about how black people have lower IQs than white people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like all this bullshit. Like there is absolutely no reason that the LPNH should ever be tweeting about race. I'm sorry. We're in fucking New Hampshire. Most people here are white. Like, there's no reason for it. There's no reason for, like, overtly racist bullshit anywhere on Twitter coming out of this community. It makes no sense. It's never made sense. And it's always something that Jeremy has doubled down on. So, like, I completely agree with the assessment that he is a racial collectivist because that's how he presents himself on fucking Twitter. But I don't think like he thinks it's a weird thing. I don't think that Jeremy like hates black people or anything. He just believes that white people collectively have higher IQs.
Then you know what? If you can't tell the difference between understanding statistics and things that are true about groups and saying that therefore I judge people as individuals, then some people are exposing
Therefore, I support violent government policies to put them into mass starvation.
Oh my God, Jason,
that is what you're defending.
No, not at all. I can't believe that I'm getting kicked out because you guys went anti-racist. You're kicking me out because I said that.
Oh my God!
Is worse now.
This is not what. Just to be really clear for all of the Jeremy cult of personality people that are going to watch this later, on my channel, we watch actual anti-racist bullshit all the time, which is Marxism, and it's totally woke. That's not what they're doing. This is not anti-racist bullshit. This is not woke. They don't want Jeremy tweeting collectivist statements about black people having lower IQs than white people, which I don't quite frankly think is something that anyone should be defending because there's no point to engaging in that at all.
That is insane.
We are not going to have this debate here. That we can do somewhere else.
Like, this is anti-racist. No, it's not.
Thing to thing. I mean, I think all of this again. When other people watch this, they're going to see that the two of you, Jason and Carla, have a set of beliefs about, race, South Africa, whatever.
Oh my fucking God, Jeremy. He was playing this out. I promise you, here's what happened. Jeremy was playing this out. How am I going to spin this on social media? How am I going to spin this on social media? How am I going to spin this on social media? He was playing this out in his head before he even walked into this conversation, I promise you. Rottweiler, thank you for the super chat. To me, the quasi-racist attitude from people like him reeks of wanting to fit with how he perceives the youth, out of touch and or midlife crisis. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that, Rottweiler. Thank you for the super chat.
That plenty of people in the movement disagree on this subject. Lots of people. You have made this personal for yourselves, okay? And you're obsessing over this issue.
Again, the reason we are here and we are having this conversation is because I gave you a direct instruction. You did not follow corporate
What
etiquette.
Direct instruction did I not follow?
That you should step down from the
I just want to say for my supporter community, we might be like 10 minutes late for the supporter call, 10-15 minutes late. I apologize. This is going to run a little bit over, but I do want to watch the rest of this and I want time to do commentary. So I apologize. I'll post in the community. We're starting about 15 minutes late today. Thank you guys for your patience.
Team per my instructions that you should
make
the group, and you ignored me, told me you wouldn't do it, and in writing went to the group. Here's the point. I can document all of that. Those are the facts. You can try and spin them, you can tell stories, we can move the goalposts or whatever. But here's the reality from a corporate perspective, and we have bylaws, we have an organization, and organizations exist with guardrails so that when we're in situations like this, we can make good decisions. I do not personally believe you're acting in the best interest of the organization as a whole currently. Again, there are ways that we can make this good for everyone. I offered that you could take a sabbatical. I asked you to stand down, and all you did was disrespectfully escalate and waste, frankly, my time with your responses all over the place with this tactic where it's almost like you can't see that we can see what's happening. And I genuinely think you have a lot of value to bring, but you cannot be behaving the way you're behaving and expect us to be a professional organization that can go out and raise tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, where we're infighting and where you are not working as a team player. You actually cannot behave the way you're behaving and expect us to embrace it or accept it or have it as part of how we are functioning as an organization.
I am happy to work as a team player, and it's crazy that you guys are going all the way to push me out when we've had multiple board meetings where we could have discussed these subjects and we could have discussed them without it being so high tension, and they weren't even raised by anyone. We've been on Zoom calls like twice in the last month, and this stuff wasn't even talked about. Okay.
Because we were doing it in writing, we were talking a lot in writing, and there's a reason
and again,
for that, Jeremy.
Maybe we're changing how things work, but I've always done it with volunteers, and my understanding is certainly when I was the ED, that I like it when my subordinates disagree with me. I encourage it. Yeah, and then the question is, do they disagree and commit? Do they do what they're asked anyway? And I did everything that was asked anyway. I just also disagreed. Okay. And so if there's a way that I'm supposed to disagree, I can disagree differently. If you want to tell me what procedures I should follow and how to disagree. Yes, Carla, do you know how it would have been embarrassing for you if I had gone public and said you kicked me off the comms team? That was why I didn't do that, and instead reached out to a small group of people to show the board that Carla was making a decision unilaterally that was unpopular.
Carla didn't make a decision unilaterally.
That wasn't a board. Carla, that firing me from the comms team is a comms decision.
I know for a fact that Jason Sorens knew about this. Carla didn't make the decision unilaterally. Jason Sorens knew about it. I don't know, maybe it wasn't a formal board vote, but I know for a fact that Jason Sorens knew about it.
That's not, how can you make decisions and for them not be public? Like, of course it's going to be public that you've kicked me off the board.
You understand that as a board, we have a channel. You clearly don't, because you violated it at least 10 times.
I sent an email with a detailed procedure of how these things should be handled. And actually, I think it would be good if this would be something to be voting on, because I've been very clear. Here's how you handle things. First, you attempt to go person to person. If they can't, if two people are unwilling to go person to person, that already shows that they're very animated and agitated and unreasonable.
About Porkfest, you told me you did nothing wrong, and somehow I got kicked off Twitter that day. So we did have that.
Again, this insane conspiracy theory, this schizophrenic conspiracy theory that I somehow got you kicked off of Twitter.
On the same day. That is all I'm saying.
The only reason to bring that up is to put into people's heads that I was somehow responsible. And it's again, this kind of bad faith, dishonest,
bars you did.
Yeah. And again, it's a shame those replies aren't up, because once again, you would see that the majority of people agreed with me on that.
The majority of people in the one channel where you choose to look at.
No, that was in your. Okay.
We are a large movement with different moving parts, Jeremy. And you have to understand that when you bring evidence, you are bringing evidence of a small sliver of people. I hear the same 4 names.
That's again. So I've encouraged.
Of people.
You know what would be I think it would be tremendous to say, hey, let's have this out publicly, how we talk about these things. Let's have the largest.
Well, so Tinge says, Jeremy, this isn't a disagreement of opinion. It's about your entire demeanor and the fact that you're bad for the organization's image from your behavior. This is something that the cult of Jeremy does not understand, because Jeremy has sold this story on Twitter that this is because he just had a difference of opinion. It's because people doesn't like his opinions. This has nothing to effing do with Jeremy's speech at all. This has to do with how Jeremy treats other people, how he condescends to people, how he doesn't listen to people. And again, currently, I pretty much think the same thing with Carla as I would say of Jeremy. I don't think either of them are good. I'm not on any team here, but like the fact that Jeremy is willfully ignoring what's actually being done and what's actually being said and selling this story on Twitter that this is because of the woke anti-racist Freeze Day Project, because they're just being woke and anti-racist. Bullshit, Jeremy. There is nothing woke and anti-racist about this, and I literally fucking wrote a book about woke, so I feel like I have some credentials to say that.
summit possible. Let's make our cases and let's let people stand up and clap and argue as to how we should communicate amongst ourselves.
And you should
Let's
go
do it.
do
I
that
would
with
love
your
it.
time as a volunteer when you're off the board. I think
you
like
guys,
a marvelous
I think
idea.
you guys, some people here don't realize how out of touch they are with the Free State Project base currently. And again, I really would
The
like
Free
you to
State
learn that
Project
in a way
base
that
means
is the least
Jeremy's
possibly
friends
damaging
and
to the
Jeremy's cult.
organization.
Is that a threat?
Who's out of touch?
No, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. It's because
I'm pretty sure
the
every time
organization
you
will
threaten
get
the
damaged. No,
public,
I am
that
telling
was a
you
threat.
objectively, as someone who understands marketing and perceptions and all this stuff better than anyone on this call, who understands where people are at in this movement better than anyone on this call, this will objectively, even if I did nothing, be regarded as a negative decision, and you would get a lot of crap for it.
Yeah, we'll get a lot of crap for it. We'll get a lot of accolades, and that's just the way it is. Decisions don't have to be final. We don't all have to agree. We don't have to like it. Here's the reality.
I think
you
I think
put yourself in this situation.
absolutely
Jeremy
not,
Kaufman.
Carla. You created this situation
I did not.
because you cannot tolerate other people that are interesting, let's say. You can't tolerate it. You want to be on every podcast. You want to be on every show. You insist on putting your photo in every newsletter. You insist on doing every talk, every talking point, every comment. Okay, and you won't even regard the evidence, what the market says about your communications and how good you are at it. What evidence would you guys are going around polling people who are telling you what you want to hear because you already had something you wanted to be persuaded of.
Your evidence is
Let's vote again. Do it on any.
And by the way, I don't actually disagree with any of the criticism that Jeremy just had for Carla there. I think Carla does want to be front and center. I think Carla wants to be everywhere. Carla literally calls herself Queen fucking Quill. Like, I don't actually disagree with his assessment of like Carla needing to be front and center and be like the star and be this and be that and be the other thing. But that doesn't change that Jeremy's acting like a dick.
Do it on any channel. Do it on Facebook, do it on Twitter, do it on YouTube. If this isn't real, let's do it in person and let's do a summit. At a minimum, I would think, given the severity and importance of this choice, that the board would be interested in collecting data and information to make it correct.
And we're going to do that after the fact. I think in order to get, because we're on the clock and because we have interviews coming up, I think we need to call the question and take the vote. And then, Jeremy, again, I think the issue can be resolved with you just taking a little bit of time.
Look, I'm not gonna
blow this out of proportion. I think that's a mistake, and it's a mistake for the movement. And if you do it, it is going to reflect badly because it is going to underscore the fact that I'm saying you are not acting in the best interests.
Jason, can you commit that this video will be published? This video is going to be published if you vote. Vote yes.
We are not planning to.
I mean, we've never done that. I just want a record.
Yeah, we can publish it. We're not planning to publish a detailed explanation of our decision unless there's some attempt to create a huge amount.
So I'm going to be very clear. Not only will I be calling for a vote from everyone, I will be I'm not going to rush. I'm not going to tweet it right after the vote. I'll think about even if the vote goes negatively, I'll think about the slowest possible way to kind of give you guys time to undo it. Even if someone makes a mistake, I'll try to find a way.
Wow,
to let people undo it.
Jeremy.
But it is eventually going to come out. And when it comes out, what I will say is that there is a video of the vote and the evidence that was presented against me as to why I was kicked off. And I will strongly encourage that video be released. Because I think anyone who views this video...
I will be reading in, or we will be...
Jeremy truly thinks he looks like the hero in this video. Did people, let me just do a poll in the chat. Hang on, let me do a poll on YouTube. Hang on. Let me just see what because you guys have watched the whole thing now. Like, disregard, like, don't agree with me just because, like, you're watching my channel or whatever. Like, have your own opinion about it. I want to encourage that. But, like, is Jeremy the victim here? Yes? No? Go ahead. Poll on YouTube.
also sharing all the emails, all the screen grabs, the written correspondence between us on the board, everything you've submitted to me over the last month.
This is such unhealthy behavior. This is the narcissism of small differences. It's Gerard's scapegoating. It's what unhealthy movements do. It's jockeying for status against each other, and it's so bad. And it's so unhealthy.
Demanding a minimal level of professionalism.
I mean, that's not.
This is not professional. I mean, again, there's no aspect of this when published that you're going to say that you guys are professional. You clearly have emotional problems with me. You guys have an emotional conflict with me, and I would love to get back to a place where we could respect each other, because I do respect you. You guys have done a tremendous amount for the movement, but this is an emotional. This is an emotional thing that the two of you have with me, and maybe a little bit Carol Ann now, although that one's new to me, Carol Ann, and I would like to fix that with you. But like Jason and Carla, this is mainly coming from the two of you, clearly, and like I think we could just fix it, rather than doing something that is going to be very damaging. We all seem to agree it's going to be damaging.
If you want to talk about my emotional response to you, I mean, that really started when you, like Carla was saying, when you went outside of the board and had people on the comms team solicit on your behalf to the board. I just felt that was completely out of line. The board happens on the board, stays on the board.
That's not a board, but I'm on that team. So let me ask. So let me ask a positive question. I'd be genuinely interested. We have a structure where there's let's say it's one volunteer managing a team of 5. Okay, and let's actually say that volunteer recruited the entire team of 5. Then the executive director comes in, says, "Hey, you're gone." Just comes in one day, says, "Hey, you're gone." What is now that person may care about the movement. They may want the movement to make the correct decision. Maybe the executive director has a beef with that person and they're being emotional. How can that subordinate person properly point that out to the organization itself? To me, asking the 5 hold on, Carla, asking the 5 private people of that team to write a direct saying specifically, don't share that this decision happened yet. Don't talk about it. Could you please just write the board about it? That actually seems like the least possible damaging way to deal with it.
The least damaging way to deal with it and the correct way to deal with it was to have that conversation on the board thread. You literally didn't even wait 10 minutes. So the point is, you did this to yourself.
Wait, what do you mean to have? You removed me from the comms team. That's not a board. That's not. I am a so this might be confusing. Hold on. I think this is the source of the confusion partially here.
There is no confusion, Jeremy.
We are very aware I sever my role hats pretty strictly in my head. So when I'm acting as comms manager, I can't, as comms manager, bring something to the board chat. The comms manager isn't in the board chat.
But see, that's where I feel you're incorrect. And just from my perspective, I mean, I own, like you all know, I own multiple companies internationally, domestically. I know how boards are run. And when you wear a board hat, that supersedes any other role that's associated with that organization.
I agree.
So we have the organization and we have the movement, but your role as the board member has to supersede your role in the movement, which would be comms director. And
they're not strictly superior to one another. What I'm saying is that, and maybe if you guys want me to do this, I can. I thought I shouldn't be, because I'm just the comms, because it's a comms issue. I thought I shouldn't be bringing every disagreement that I have with Carla there. I thought that would be inappropriate to be derailing the board and saying I have some disagreement with Carla, because that's not a board level issue. That's part of the operation.
The board was already discussing it. The board was, and Carla had brought it before the board. So
See?
yeah, that would have been the appropriate thing.
I told you, Carla brought it before the board. I told you this went before the board. Jeremy is like delusional if he thinks Carla just unilaterally made this decision. I knew. Why doesn't Jeremy know this went before the board? Because I knew that it went before the board while it was happening. There is a finely honed gossip network in the New Hampshire Libertarian community. I literally knew as it was happening because someone sent me a message saying, "Did you know Jeremy's getting the Twitter taken away right this second? It's happening right now." Like, as it was happening. So there's no way in fuck that Jeremy didn't know it was happening if I knew it was happening.
And to say to Carla and to the rest of the board, hey, here are the comms team members. Please reach out to them. You could do something like that. That would have been the appropriate course of action there.
So I'm not like, I think if we let a volunteer go and that volunteer simply asks some of his friends or her friends to write a private message saying, hey, please reconsider this decision, that's an entirely appropriate behavior. I can update how I think about that, but that to me, that would be
You're a board member. You are above a volunteer in the movement. You are a board member. That's completely different. I know that you say you want to separate those, but they're not. They're not. They run congruently, and actually one is superior to the other because you have to set an example and you have to run the organization itself with the other board members.
So maybe this is like a gender thing, but I actually try to always think, what is my role right now?
What?
And then I shift. Whether sometimes I'm subordinate to someone else,
No,
sometimes I'm
Jeremy, that's not a gender thing. You're just wrong.
I'm always thinking
You're
about
just
what role
wrong. That
I'm
has nothing to
playing
do
in
with
any
you
sort
being
of
a
given,
man.
Interaction. So no, I don't think of it that way. Again, we can change this.
Jeremy, I'm not a collectivist. Also, Jeremy, maybe this is just a gender thing. Jeremy, that's collectivist.
But I wasn't doing something outside of policy. I thought I was following the policy. And so it's great.
I think you are disingenuous, Jeremy. You did it because you thought that would be the way that you can win, which is the way you approach everything. There is no collaboration here. There is no mutual respect.
I've respected. I've said nothing but, can we please have a cooperative discussion where we try to find common ground? You guys have been going around gossiping.
Genuinely, do you think your responses over the past 3 weeks have indicated any good faith efforts on your part?
I thought that you had it out for me and it wasn't gonna be possible to get you to back down. I was hoping that we could have a mediated conversation and that someone, maybe if we had it with some people that we both respect, that they could get you and I to a point of peace and respect.
But your initial position when we started talking was you will not obey. And the only reason you decided was when you got caught, where you were like, "Oh, okay, I'm subject to the bylaw."
Again, I have obeyed. The only directive that I could have claimed to have not, the only directive I could have claimed to have not obeyed was when Carla, you came into the chat and without warning said I was removed from all roles in comms. That was very hurtful to me. And I then asked volunteers privately to message the board, and then Carla changed her mind and rescinded that decision.
That is not what happened, Jeremy. That is not what happened.
Yeah.
I believe that's what happened. So
I think we need to call. I'd like to call for a move for.
Guys, I really think you need to delay this or think about this. Do not do this. Do not do this in a rush. Okay. Like even if you're going to do it, I think this is a big mistake because this is not the grounds are just not here. And I've done a tremendous amount for the movement, and there's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to like it, and who are going to, especially with what you presented.
The board letter of the discussion we were having, information they needed. I think we ran out of time. I'm presenting the changes that we've had and the screen grabs from comms and all of that as well. So I think we should call it to a vote. I honestly, Jeremy, for what it's worth, and I think this is important to know, and I think every board member here can actually reiterate or bomb this. I did not whip or talk to one board member
then Jason
before this, because you think I'm out to get you. That is not what's happening. I started that conversation about comms because you have a very hard time listening and responding in a way that is conducive to useful management. And I put everything in writing because it is a record of how you actually behave and how you act. And so, again, I did not whip anyone up against you. I wasn't out to get you. I wanted us to come up with something that would be a comms policy that would actually function so that if we are bringing in a new executive director, they don't have to deal with someone who thinks he can just do what he wants with no consequences for the thrill of it.
That's not, there's nothing I'm doing for the thrill of it, nor do I think there should be no consequences, nor have you ever proposed a single policy change. There's no policy change you've made that I haven't
So the
obeyed.
policy over the 15 years that I've been involved with this movement is pretty much, we have arm's length, we're laissez-faire, everyone's kind of doing what they want. And then when someone goes extremely rogue, it's like, we have to do something.
How?
And you're not willing to take any guardrails. The only reason
what guardrail have I refused? What do you want? Okay, this is the first time you guys are going.
We've had the policies of not promoting political violence. We're not a violent revolutionary movement because that's not going to work, even if it's we've had the policy against promoting bigotry, and both of those policies you said you weren't going to enforce.
That is I absolutely did not say that. I asked for clarification on the policies because I said if we're not promoting political violence, I said, what is the difference between this post, which was deemed over the line, and posts about the Pine Tree Riot and Independence Day and comparable posts? I wasn't saying no to that rule. I was seeking clarification on the rule. Similarly, hold on. I am the only person who has offered a positive definition of racism. I have said strongly that we should not.
I did as well.
Racist. Okay, so my definition. Okay, what's your definition? Okay, because Carla has not
offered
a
having
definition
that
of racism.
conversation now.
Well, you're claiming that I violated a policy of racism that the organization has, and this is why I'm saying it's going to be embarrassing for you guys because I definitely haven't, at least not any sane person's definition of racism.
You said
I don't know about that, Jeremy.
Account that's
I did not say that I did. Again, I never once said that I will continue to promote that account. Carla's request to not retweet that account was completely obeyed. I do believe that person is within bounds of the Free State Movement. He's literally a libertarian, Hoppian anarchist. He's followed by 40,000 people on Twitter, and he's very popular. Okay, so you're saying that this person has views that are beyond the pale, but he's one of the most popular and most followed Free Staters in the
He's
entire
also
state.
an asshole.
He's friendly with multiple state reps. I messaged one state rep, and he said that guy was really tame and completely within the
Exactly. Twitter credentials, because that's all that fucking matters to Jeremy and pretty much like most of the people involved in any of this, like, is Twitter. That's exactly right.
For the list of people who aren't as tame, but really it was not enough.
There is a motion on the floor.
So again, this is why it's going to look very bad. Also, never mind.
So we need a second to close discussion. So I understand it.
Second.
Right. Carla, do you want to manage the vote?
Oh, do I? All right. How do we do this? Sorry, as chair of the board, I guess. So we have a motion on the table to remove Jeremy from the board and from comms. And motion was, and seconded was Carolyn,
did you talk to Bruce about this?
She needs to ask her.
Bruce isn't on the board.
Are you fucking shitting me, Jeremy? You think that Carol Ann needs to ask her husband's permission? What the fuck? So for people who don't know, this is Bruce Fenton ran for Senate in New Hampshire as a Republican, but he's like a crypto guy. He's a libertarian. And Carol Ann is Bruce's. He's like a crypto millionaire. Carol Ann is Bruce's wife. And Jeremy just said, "Did you ask your husband's permission to do this?" in so many words.
Yeah, I know, but I talked to my wife about things. I'm curious if you talked to Bruce about this, because Bruce, I think, is pretty supportive of me.
Jeremy, all of us are supportive of you. What we are not supportive of is you functioning in this role currently. So
I think if Bruce sees this video, he's going to think that you guys were kind of silly, actually.
I
but
kind
mean,
of doubt
I don't
that.
know.
I would be
But I
very
think when
surprised,
Bruce
Jeremy.
reads the exchanges, Bruce will understand why this happened.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about Bruce. Bruce says extreme things too, Jeremy, you know, and he has a lot of social media presence and he has a lot of passion in how he views, you know, libertarianism and the movement and all of that. But if he says something on social media that I say, hey, you got to tone that down because that is inflammatory and that's got to stop. You know what he does is he stops.
Oh yeah, I listened to Rachel.
Yeah, well, I mean, all right. So that's the thing. So that's
But
what
no
I'm
one
saying.
else.
So is the,
To no
do you think
one
he would
else.
listen if the board asked him to stop? Do you think he would listen to the Free State Project board?
If he was a board member, yes, I do. Because he acts within the board guidelines for other boards that we all serve on. So yes,
I would hope that Bruce is a big enough man that he would demand his
Why
own
are we
personal
debating
space.
people who are not on the board? This conversation
Oh,
is
it's
not
just-
relevant. We
I was
have a
just curious.
second proposing the discussion. You know, again, so I guess we should go around. Jason, how do you vote? Carol Ann?
Aye.
Mark?
I'll vote yes. Sadly.
Seamus?
Aye.
Carla? Yes. So unanimously, the motion carries again. So right
Well, it
there.
Unanimously.
It wasn't unanimous. Jeremy probably voted no.
Well, he left the board. He jumped off the call right
Oh, he
now.
left.
So let
Jeremy
the
just,
record reflect
holy
that
shit.
17
Holy shit. When they voted, Jeremy just fucking left the call. So it was unanimous against Jeremy to kick him off the board because of his absurd behavior. Okay, let's listen to the last call. I cannot believe Jeremy just left the call when they were voting.
to without weighing in on his position. Jeremy left the board. I think it's really important for everyone to understand this is an incredibly difficult decision. We don't take these decisions lightly. No one here actually wants to do this, but from my personal perspective, this is the only way we can actually remediate some of the brand damage we're experiencing, some of the personal reputational damage we're experiencing, bring some sponsors and donors back into the organization. I think Jeremy has mad talents. I think he's a smart guy. I think he just needs to go maybe take a break. You know, he's stressed. There's a lot going on in his life. And just from my perspective, personally, you know, I everything I'm doing is out of love and concern for the movement, for the Free State Project, for liberty, for everything we're trying to do here. And I think it's the best decision right now. And maybe things will change in 3 or 6 months, but we offered him the opportunity to take a sabbatical. He chose not to do that. And that is why we're here today.
They offered him a chance to
Yeah,
take a sabbatical.
I echo all of that
He
110%,
refused.
Carla. This is the last thing I wanted to be doing, last position I wanted to be in. But on the plus side, I think now we can at least focus on actual board business and get things done for the FSP.
So buckle up, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not over.
Yep. But as I mentioned to Carla, I'm happy to be a public face on this if that is helpful. I know in the past when the board has had tough decisions, you know, Carla felt a little bit hung out to dry, and so I don't want that to happen again. So you know, I'm happy to be.
You know what? I'll say this. Like, well, actually, let me wrap this up, and I'll
Okay,
run the
thank you.
10
I
seconds
appreciate
left.
that. All right, I think we have a 5:15.
We're wrapping up, Beth. Don't worry about it.
So
Yes.
All right, so that's the end of it. So I'm gonna say this. I started off like I really wasn't on anyone's side when I watched this, even though like I've seen Jeremy's behaviors and I kind of knew this was probably how it went down. And again, I want to emphasize, I am still way more pissed off at Carla for spitting in the faces of potential new movers that were at PorkFest last year that were cultivated for years out of my community. I'm still far more pissed off at that than I am at Jeremy's bullshit. But like I've also gotten used, like I got used to Jeremy's bullshit at some point and it wasn't surprising to me. But like I was prepared to really dislike Jason Sorens in this. I really was, because I do actually think that Jason is like a Democrat. I think he's woke. I think he's a progressive. I think he is. And I have not had any interaction with him other than like what I've seen. And he, to me, has always struck me as a Democrat. I didn't have any problem with the way Jason behaved in this video. I actually didn't have any problem with the way Carla behaved in this video. I think that Jason, to me, like when he offered to like be the public face to take shit for this when Jeremy was going to go on his smear campaign, which he has now been doing on Twitter for like since this happened, since Friday. You know, respect Jason. Like maybe I misjudged him. I don't know. He's still probably a Democrat, but like whatever. And I think that like that was actually a really stand-up thing for him to do. So I don't have any problem with that. Jeremy's story that this was some sort of woke takeover of the Free State Project is absolute bullshit. It's bullshit. And Karen Ann Harlows, who's on the national board of the LNC, I'm sorry, Karen Ann, your assessment of this was completely fucking wrong. And she's not the only one who was wrong. There was a lot of people in the cult of Jeremy who were completely wrong. But I take particular umbrage with Karen Ann Harlows because she should have waited for the video to come out before she started running her mouth on Twitter because she's in the cult of Jeremy. And I hold her to a higher standard because she is on the national board of the Libertarian Party. And she should damn well fucking know better. So for me, it's pretty clear. Jeremy was wrong. Jeremy tried to weaponize the comms team against the board. That's something you don't do. It seems to me like they gave Jeremy a lot of chances to rein in the behavior. It seems to me like they offered Jeremy a sabbatical. They tried to and I absolutely believe that Jeremy did in every conversation Carla tried to have with him. I absolutely believe that Jeremy did exactly the same thing that he just did in the board meeting, which is deflect, because that's what he does every GD time. Let's check in on the poll. I offered a poll saying, is Jeremy the victim here? 84% of you believe that Jeremy is not the victim here. Only 16% of you believe Jeremy is the victim, and I know some of those are troll votes because you said them in the chat. So, I mean, this is not, like, sorry. Like, if... I wish I was given a chance to rag on the Free State Project because right now, with the way the Free State Project has treated my supporter community, calling them a waste of time, refusing to answer their questions when they're potential new movers who were literally at PorcFest last year, Carla insinuating that I was lying about these mysterious people, like creating a month-and-a-half long argument over the fact that they wouldn't answer the questions of potential movers. I wish I had reason to flame the Free State Project on this one, but I don't. It's Jeremy's fault. He made his fucking bed. I'm sorry. It's the way it goes. Jeremy needs to take a fucking vacation. Like, really smart guy. Has a lot to offer. Been a major pain in the ass for the last year, along with most other people involved with the LPNH right now in that goddamn Twitter account. So, people can judge for themselves. But quite frankly, if you watch that video and you think that Jeremy is the one in the right, I question your intelligence level. And I think you've probably been pulled into the cult of Jeremy Kaufman. Anyway, guys, that's all we have today. I am 10 minutes over for my supporter call in my community. We will be getting that call started in a couple minutes. I do apologize to all the supporters, but if you want to join us for that call, what you need to do, if I will post the link in locals, of course, but if you're on my Substack, what you need to do is go to yesterday's Unwoke Roundup email, go all the way down to the bottom, and underneath this red box right here, if you are a supporter on the Substack, you will see a Zoom link where we will be gathering in but 4 minutes to have a private supporter call. Thank you guys for the extra time today. And I'll be back tomorrow, guys. That's it for right now. Take care. Have a good one. We'll see you soon. Bye.